we moved from kind of an anarchy, but it was basically organized chaos to Holacracy 2.5 years ago. And that instantly meant that we had to do something with compensation because we had that organized somewhat. Compensation was tied, or compensation levels were tied to our basically our job titles and job descriptions, and they were gone. So we improvised for a couple of for about half a year, I guess, just setting compensation levels manually and continuing as we did. But we noticed that it was kind of limiting. People weren't really free to pick the roles they wanted to pick, or compensation level wasn't tied to that, and people didn't really feel free. So that basically meant that we had to do something. We looked at a lot of different systems, at the batch-based compensation system. We looked at systems similar to what Stefan is doing right now. We looked at stack-based compensation, which is basically similar to what Stefan is doing, but people rating each other and setting compensation levels and generally introducing some kind of picking order inside the organization. We considered just continuing as we did. And in the process, we also saw and read stuff by Daniel Pink on motivation and how motivation works. And one thing that stood out from his presentations was that basically motivating creative people, smart creative people with money doesn't really work. So tying performance to compensation levels is something that, well, is basically flawed and broken. So we decided we had to move away from that. And we wanted something that was really simple, really easy to comprehend, fully transparent, predictable, both from an organization point of view as from a employee point of view. And that's basically... cool. That's what I should do. Thanks. Well, our roles just changed. So basically, what we said, and we sat down and we analyzed what we had done during the years, the past 15 years, and we looked at everybody's salary and compensation level and where they were, based on the years of experience they had with us and maybe outside of our company and their compensation level. And we just drew a lot of dots on a chart and maybe even some lines of how that developed. And what we found out is that we were basically giving everybody the same kind of raises over the career, and that there wasn't really big differences, maybe a couple of percentage, but that was basically all people being a bit more greedy in their yearly negotiations, or people being modest and not asking that much and us giving them a bit more, or whatever. But basically we found out that there was this really nice line there, which basically nobody knew about, but it was there. And we were basically operating that way all... yeah, we had been doing that. Definitely not consciously, kind of hidden. And then we thought, what would happen if we would just publish this line and say to everybody, this is where you are in the line, and this is what's going to happen next year, unconditionally, because we don't tie it to performance, we don't tie it to feedback, we don't tie it to anything. This is what's going to happen. We trust you. We trust that everybody's ambitious. Everybody is aligned on our purpose. And if you're not, we should have a talk about that. And we shouldn't try to compensate that with money, because that doesn't work. And that's a bit weird. Yeah, it's actually steps, right? It's not a line. So we moved to a system where everybody just has a guaranteed raise every year, non-negotiable. We don't do any salary negotiations anymore. We don't have to think about compensation levels. And just this curve. Easy as that. Yes. And that's the complicated part. because we do a salary negotiation basically for the rest of your career, right? Right when we hire you, and we don't really know you yet. So this is where the tensions are. And I'm not quite sure whether we totally solved it, but we have some policies on how to do this and some roles that are involved. But right after your first job interview with us, and we've done this, I guess, 5 or 6 times now with new hires. Right after your first interview, if we're both happy with it and we want to continue, we'll send you all the details of our compensation system and the way it works. And we have some policies that will help you and us evaluate your prior work experience and your education, and make it comparable to basically the job we're hiring for or the roles we're hiring for. And we will evaluate your prior working experience, and we'll come up with a proposal. You've been working there for 10 years, you've done that, you've done that, you've done that. If we compare that to what we need for this job, and we think that will be worth 6 Valsplat years, something like that, or anywhere between 4.5 and 6. And we'll have a talk about that. We'll have a talk about the value you will bring to Valsplat. And in my experience, and maybe our hires see that differently, but in my experience, those talks aren't about money anymore. They are about how much value you will bring to our company and how much that's worth, but in years, not in euros. And of course, it will have an impact in euros, but then we'll plot you in our curve. And if we're really wrong, then there might be some opportunity to change it after half a year, if we really know each other. But that's basically how we do it. And how we've done it a couple of times now. Yeah, about learning something each and every time and changing and adapting. Yeah. What does not count as prior working experience? Well, yeah. Yeah, and everybody brings along some general life experience, and that's worth something as well. But that's a given. When we're hiring something, we're hiring them to do a specific job aligned with our purpose, a specific set of roles. So we will only look at working experience that's relevant for those specific roles, because that will be your core roles, at least in the beginning, and that's where you will bring value. So anything else you've done that might be valuable to us, but isn't at that given point, we won't take that into account. We will ignore that. And if you've done 3 or 2 studies, or you have been working alongside your study, we won't count that, because each and every day in a people's life is one day. We started out with this with this system, which is basically really simple, and I find it pretty elegant. I can explain it really quickly, but of course there are tensions. Not everybody was totally happy, so we tried to address those tensions. The difference in prior education level, for example, have you done college or university or something like that? It's very natural to distinguish between those two. I think it doesn't really matter. I haven't finished any school, so um, you might have figured right now. We tried to address that, and we've gone up to a version 2.0 of this system, which was really more nuanced and with some checkpoints within the system or within your career with deviating compensation levels and stuff like that. And we tried to introduce that with our people. Basically, they said no. The tensions that will give. Also, the tension of changing the compensation system again within a year. That was way too much. So we're stuck on this right now. And we're going to try this for a couple of years, because to be honest, we've done this now for one and a half year. And to give a system like this an honest chance, I guess you need about 5 years. Oh no, 5 more minutes. Oh, you just said 2. Definitely. She likes it more than you, probably. um, so we tried to change it and to introduce a new one, and basically we decided to stick with this at least for the next couple of years and see from that. But to try and make it possible to up it a little bit, but then for everybody together, for the entire team, and not just for me as a single employee. So for me, just the fact that we don't have to talk about it that much anymore, and that we don't have the awkward conversations about money anymore with individuals and stuff like that, and we don't have to rank each other and stuff like that, and we don't have to basically waste our time every year to think about this. That's a big benefit. Well, basically, the vision behind the system is owned by our shareholder role. And we have a compensation and benefits role that's basically tasked with executing the system and plotting new hires on the curve, stuff like that. And we've got a couple of policies that describe our hiring process and when we do this and how we evaluate prior work experience and stuff like that. And that's it. We like simplicity. Yes. Everybody attributes to the purpose and to basically to the bottom line. Yeah. Gender inequalities. I hope we basically settle that because everybody's on the same curve. Of course, where they started out and stuff like historic, yeah, that will still be in there if it was there. I doubt it. We're quite a small team and predominantly female. So then it's basically across the line. So that's one. Are we in an industry where we can keep raising our prices? No, but we can basically up the service level we have. Because if people stay longer, they will be more experienced, and I hope they will do work that's more valuable to our clients. So that's basically how we try to solve that. And maybe in a couple of years' time we can talk about that, whether it worked out. But that's our mission, to be more valuable. From receptionist to AI programmer, I guess I highly doubt it hasn't happened yet. But as you might have guessed, we are overpaying our receptionist compared to what's common in the market already, because they are on the same curve as the AI programmer will be, which led to some tensions. Yeah. Oh yes. If we have a really good year as a team, like more than 20% profit or whatever, then we'll share something with our team, like 10% of that profit. Everyone based on their. Yes. It's basically part of our compensation system that if we have more than 20% margin, then 10% of that will be shared across everybody based on how much time they spend working. Because as a team, we decided to. Yeah. It might feel unfair. We have some geniuses, probably only geniuses, but we're on the system now for 1.5 years. None of them left. The receptionist has.